Welcome, everyone, to The Breakdown with your not-so-humble talking hairdo, Ben. It's nice to see everybody today. It is a big day in the world of sports, in the world of news, in the world of pop culture. We've got all kinds of stuff going on today. But first, we are coming to you live from the Neon Parrot Live studios at the Majestic Coffee Shop, downtown Abilene, Texas, the Lean, as we like to call it. And we are happy to be here. Big part from my technical producer extraordinaire, Sam Wolf. Appreciate this. Got all these fancy microphones and everything like that. Man, today is a huge day for me. Because, you know why? Because I believe in love. And I am a bit of a sap, I'll be honest with you. I wasn't going to start the show with this, but Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift are engaged to be married. And we'll get into, this is more than just they're engaged. There's some fun that we can have with this as well. I'll get into a little more of that on the as I get into the NFL. We're going to start this show off with a little bit of talk of our... Over the summer, when there wasn't as much sports going on, I talked a lot about the Stargate Lancium project, which is this massive AI data center is what they're calling it here right outside of, it's not even outside of town in Abilene, Texas. 5,000 acre mega computer structure that's promising all these wonderful things to us Abilenians. And anyway, so I'm going to start kind of there. Then I'm going to go into college football talk because that is where we are now. Is officially week 1 of the college season starts tonight. Last week they call it week 0. I don't know. Still counts. But this is actually week 1. And then we are, think we're officially finished with NFL preseason, which is just a great way to lose money, so don't gamble on preseason if you do, if you dare, I guess. We'll get into some NFL talks with our man Big Frank here in a bit. To start, get out of the interesting AI data center stuff, and then we'll move on to the fun stuff, which is the world of sports, which is my passion and love and why I started this program in the first place, but it has morphed into a little bit of everything here at the Breakdown with your host Ben. So Lancium Stargate, essentially I am now having some secondhand exposure to some of the people who have come to our sleepy little town of Abilene over the last, say, month. And let me just let you know that the tech bros of Silicon Valley have descended out of the sky from the Bay Area to Abilene, Texas. They are here, and they are throwing money around in this town right now. Primarily, from what I understand, is in real estate and entertainment. And the only entertainment I'm aware of is food and drink. I'm sure they're into some other entertainment as well. Who knows? But I'm not alleging anything there. I'm just saying that from secondhand, these gentlemen that are here are throwing around FU money at some local establishments, some of which are very near where I am coming to you live from the Neon Parrot Live studios. And these gentlemen are doing great things for the service industry, or will be, I would assume. But and if that's all we get out of this, then that's great. But it is interesting that I was wondering when these people would get here, and when they arrived, would I know? Because I'm not super in, I'm not in cliques around here, whether it be finance bro or banker guy or whoever. It's just I'm not in those circles. So, but it appears that they really like super old scotch and really hard to find wine, and they're willing to pay whatever it takes to get it. So they're here, and they're throwing their money around, and we'll see how many more show up and who benefits from this project. Because we had our senator from Texas, John Cornyn, show up. I believe it was earlier this week, because he happened to be eating lunch at the same place that I was eating lunch, which is pretty interesting in a little Abilene, Texas. See your senator having a bite where you do. But anyways, so he's in town, was in town. Our school district is being promised all this wonderful things out of this. So we'll just see. I'm just bringing it up because we had covered this months ago when I told you guys that I went on almost on the property to check it out, and was turned away pretty quickly. But if you're a senator, you can walk all over that sucker if you want to, I guess. But anyways, so that is my Lancium Stargate update, is that the tech bros are here, and I hope that the ordinary Abilenians are able to profit in some way off of this massive influx of federal cash and private cash that's coming in here now. And I guess the truth will tell. We'll see. There's some other local news that happened over the weekend that I'm not going to get into today. It's a teaser. This is what we call a tease in the biz, okay? There was a business that was raided by the police department here in Abilene, and I'm going to sit on that one for one more week and come at you with it next Thursday, when I believe a lot of other information will present itself. So I don't want to get in early on that and then look like a dumbass whenever I put my opinion out there and what I think happened, and then it ends up being something totally different. I prefer to save that to sports picks and takes. I'm perfectly happy being wrong about that. But, so we're going to save that. This little tease. Join us next week, and we'll see what has happened in Abilene regarding some local businesses. Now, let's get to it, folks. Let's talk about what we all want to hear coming out of Ben's mouth, is college football. Week 1, here we are. The biggest game of the week for me is Texas at Ohio State. At the Shoe is what they call that stadium. And for a lot of different reasons. Texas, as they have one of the most expensive rosters in all of football. They've got just tons of money. So does Ohio State. Ohio State's going to have a new quarterback this year. And Texas is going to have a new quarterback this year. And that brings us to Arch Manning, which is the son of Cooper Manning, the nephew of Peyton and Eli Manning. So this kid, we haven't seen a lot of him because I think Quinn Ewers was hurt for a little bit, a couple games last season. I don't know how many snaps Arch has actually had in college football, but he did pretty good. He's an athletic kid, pretty fast for a white boy. we're going to just see what happens. And I think, unfortunately for him, he is Manning royalty, and there is a lot of he's got high expectations from the media, sports fans, fans of the university. I'm sure he's making lots of money due to the NIL stuff. So Texas at Ohio State, Saturday, 11 o'clock. Ohio State is a 2-point favorite. I think it's so hard to know this early on in the season because week 1 and 2 can do really weird things to teams because they don't know who they are yet. They've been playing against each other all summer. Usually a big roster turnaround for these big-time schools like Texas and Ohio State. Most of their guys go to the NFL every year at the end of the year. So for Ben's pick on this game, I think I'm going to go ahead and take Ohio State for the win at home, and probably they cover those 2 points. Or, that's my pick. I think it would be cool if Texas goes in there and beats them and Arch Manning goes off. That would be a great story. That would be fun for the show. That's what I'm rooting for. But my guess is that Ryan Day and Ohio State, fresh off of a tasty national championship win, that they go in there and they handle business against Texas. I don't think they beat them by much, but I do think they win. And I think Steve Sarkisian, a.k.a. Sark, the coach of University of Texas, he's an incredible coach. He's been through a lot. I think that, his seat is getting warm there. Like, I think if he does, he needs to win a national championship this year or next year for the amount of money that the university is putting behind this program. And they can go out and they can get big bad coaches anytime they want. So I think Sark's seat is warm, not hot, but warm. And if they lose game 1, the cool thing about the new college football playoff format is you can lose a game or two, and it's okay. You can still make the playoff. Whereas used to, you had to win every single game by, you just had to win every single game to get into the playoff. And those days are gone. And that's pretty fun but then it gets weird because it's like, okay, well, who did you lose to and who did you win and how did it gets a little convoluted, obviously. But I think the cream rises for the most part and this new format. So that's the game I'm excited to watch. I will be doing 12-ounce curls, I'm sure, getting after that ball game. Now, tonight, this is exciting too. The actual college football season, week 1, starts tonight. And that is going to be there's like 8 games tonight. It's a whole lot of schools that nobody's heard of, but what is interesting is Boise State at South Florida. Boise State got into the playoff last year. Ashton Genty is now with my Raiders, and he was the superstar running back of Boise State. So I'm interested to see what the team looks like this year. So it appears that Boise is a 5-point favorite against South Florida. I would fade that, and I would probably pick South Florida to cover that 5 points and maybe even win. Who knows? You never know what could happen. So I'm going to say Boise State wins, but not more than 5 points. Do what you want with that. And then let's see. I believe, okay. Yeah, also tonight is Nebraska at Cincinnati. That to me is very interesting because Cincinnati can either have great seasons or like real mediocre seasons. I know last year when I was with you guys on the show, I took my kids to the Texas Tech Cincinnati game, and Texas Tech, we beat them. But Nebraska, has this, I can't think of the coach's name. Matt Rule, I think is his name. He's from the NFL. This is year 2 for him. And they've been hyping this guy up in Nebraska. I'm sorry. Nebraska's always going to be just Nebraska. It's not 1995 anymore. Nebraska's a 6-point favorite. It's at Cincinnati. I don't necessarily know that Cincinnati will win, but I think they'll keep it close. But I'm going to go ahead. My pick, Ben's pick, Cincinnati to cover the 6 points. That's like a touchdown, right? So Nebraska will probably win, but I'm rooting for Cincinnati. How about that? Friday night, Auburn at Baylor. So this is interesting because Baylor, I don't particularly like Baylor that much for like a host of different reasons. I think Waco, well, it's most famous for before Chip and Joanna Gaines made it popular, it was famous for David Koresh and the Branch Davidian compound. And so Waco, when I was a kid in the 90s, my own parents were like, oh, they're going to Waco, because all the wackos in Waco. So I've just always kind of had some just general disdain for Waco. I think their school is super proud of itself, kind of a snooty private school that is considerably overpriced for the quality of education that you get at that place, in my opinion. So I usually, during football season, I tend to bash a little bit. I do. So this is not unlike me. But you know what, Baylor? I hope you lose. And I hope Auburn beats you. And I hope they beat you bad. But hold everything. There's a flag on the play. Auburn is not in great shape right now. They're a mess. I think what's probably going to happen is Baylor's going to win the football game. I hope Baylor loses, okay? Because I don't like Baylor. And I think it's a weird town. And I used to work in that town. And I don't know. I think Baylor and Waco owes everything to Chip and Joanna Gaines and Magnolia freaking house renovators or whatever. So Auburn is a 2-point favorite. We're going to take that here on the breakdown. Auburn minus 2 points. Take that one to the bank. Then, as my child is a Texas A&M Fighting Aggie as of last week. So we have Texas Aggies against UTSA, which is UT San Antonio. So this is a cupcake match, okay? They want to win. They want a big win on their first game. They better cover this. The Aggies are a 24-point favorite on this game. UTSA is not a chump, though. Like, depending on what kind of program they have this year, they could make this game close, potentially. But the Aggies, you better win by 2 touchdowns at least. Like, get it together. Last year for the Aggies, as our resident Viking Aggie Blake would tell you, was short of a disappointment, okay? That is Kyle Field. The field there holds 110,000 people. It's like twice the size of most NFL stadiums. The Aggies have an endowment that is up there with the likes of any other big program. Texas, Michigan, Ohio State, Harvard, I don't care who it is. Aggies have money, and they need to get it together, and they should be in that college football playoff every year. So let's turn it around. Let's start Saturday, Aggies, against UTSA and blow them out of the building. Make them wish that they never showed up. Aggies minus 24. I think I obviously pick Aggies to win, but I don't know if they beat them by that many. Let's see here. Then, okay, we're starting to close out our college football talk here. LSU at Clemson. This is a really tasty game for a couple of reasons, and I'll break that down really quickly. Oh, okay. LSU is coached by Brian Kelly, who used to coach Notre Dame, and he has just become... He's the brother of Chip Kelly. Chip Kelly is the favorite brother of mine between the two. But when Brian Kelly came from Notre Dame to LSU, he went to a basketball game and was basically, I think he had his wife there, and he's introducing himself to all the, the Tiger fans, and he copped a fake Louisiana accent. And the guy is from like the Midwest or something. And like when people do, like, I don't even know people that do that. So it's, the clips out there on the internet, on YouTube and stuff, but it's really embarrassing. And that was 3 years ago, I think. And anyways, so get a load of that one. But you've got LSU coached by Brian Kelly, who lost their first 2 games last year, I think. And LSU, they're the team of Joe Burrow and the national championship. And, LSU should be in the hunt every year. But ever since Brian Kelly's taken over, they really haven't been. And they are playing Clemson, the Clemson Tigers. Here's a name for you, folks, that aren't sports people. Dabo Swinney is the head coach of Clemson, and he has basically pushed back on the idea of the transfer portal and the NIL stuff at the collegiate level, which has not worked for him. It has not really bode well for him. He has not had super good seasons. Anytime you play Clemson, they could beat you, no matter who they're playing. But, here again, just like LSU was the team of Joe Burrow, Clemson's the team of the likes of Trevor Lawrence, who is now, quite frankly, not had a great NFL run being at Jacksonville, but I don't know that that's really fair to go to Jacksonville. It's like kind of where quarterbacks go to die. But anyways, Clemson was a powerhouse not that many years ago with the same coach, and it appears that Dabo Swinney has gone ahead and given up the fight against the transfer portal, maybe. I'm not sure, but I've been hearing things that this could be a really good team and roster, and he's a culture-building guy. So that game, as I yapped about it, it's huge. It's very bigly. LSU at Clemson. Clemson is a 3.5-point favorite. I think Clemson wins and covers the spread, and I think that Brian Kelly, his job is on a very, very, very hot seat, because I just don't think he's got the fastball anymore, if he ever really did. Okay. Now it says 8/31/25. That must be Sunday, I believe. We've got the Catholics versus the Convicts. Notre Dame versus Miami. Always love this game, especially lately since Miami, under Coach Cristobal, I think is his name, under that fella, they've gotten quite good and competitive. And then Notre Dame is right up there on the top. Okay, so if you should watch the ESPN 30 for 30 Catholics versus Convicts. Great documentary. So we've got Notre Dame, Miami. Notre Dame is a 2.5-point favorite. I'm just going to say I think Notre Dame wins that game, but I don't know what to do with those points. All righty, breakdown, folks. As we inch into the NFL, before we go there, and before we call Big Frank, for which I will do momentarily, the U.S. Open is getting pretty interesting, so the U.S. Open, New York City, it is the final Grand Slam tennis, the major tennis tournament of the season. It takes place in a hot, putrid, stinky New York City, in Queens, of all places. So, and it's like really expensive to go there and to eat and drink there. So enjoy yourself, all you folks that are there. You will not find me in Queens in August. You just won't. But the U.S. Open is making headlines for other than tennis play. It's like there's been like 3 different meltdowns. Last night, this American girl and this other girl, like pretty much almost got into a fight after the match because somebody's mad about somebody not following the unwritten rules of the game. Tennis is a lot like, what is tennis like? Well, it's similar to golf. Tennis is a lot like baseball, okay? There's a lot of unwritten rules and things you do and you don't do, and but nobody gets penalized by. But anyways, Medvedev, the Russian tennis player, had a complete meltdown, broke like 3 rackets, threw one into the crowd, hit somebody with it, and then these 2 girls are fighting. You have Naomi Osaka, who's like a giant baby and very immature, in my opinion, and... I don't know. I don't know if tennis is entertaining for the play for me right now. I'm into Wimbledon, but the rest of it, I just don't really get. Carlos Alcaraz has shaved his head, and the dude had a beautiful set of lettuce up there. And I don't know. I haven't been really following him yet, but I like hitting the New York Post in the morning and seeing what kind of madness has happened at the U.S. Open last night. So there's that. WNBA, we've got some games tonight. WNBA has hurt my feelings because I was on such a huge streak with them. And then I just can't pick a winner there. So I'm going to spare y'all that tonight. And Caitlin Clark's, I don't know if she's back yet, but she's been out with a groin injury for like 2 months. And it really kind of sucks when the Indiana Fever are playing. And then her enforcer... she like blew her knee out or something the other day, and I'm like, okay, that spells that's over for the Indiana Fever, which I really like to watch. Anyways, that's my WNBA talk. Okay, let's get to love, folks. I'm gonna gotta get on my my internet here. So, as we inch into football of the NFL variety, we got to talk about the breaking news yesterday that had the world... Who are you? No, I'm not still interested in a Forerunner. That's okay. I mean, I am, but I can't do that right now. Okay, now, love, NFL. Travis Kelce has proposed to Taylor Swift. So, why that's interesting to me? It's not. It's interesting to me because I care about love, okay? But everybody that thought this was a fake relationship from the beginning. I was on the fence in the very beginning. But this has been going on for 2 years now. So my question to all the tinfoil hat people out there about the relationship as it was is like, what was the purpose of them two dating for publicity? She doesn't need it. She doesn't need the publicity. She's the most influential, famous woman in the world alive today, okay? Or maybe that's been alive for a very long time. She does not need some goober that plays football for the Kansas City Chiefs to like make her more relevant. And you know who else doesn't need Taylor Swift but are happy to have her is the NFL does not need Taylor Swift. They don't. The NFL is king. They're happy to have all the Swifties that showed up. Trust me. They're happy to have all you folks. I'm happy to have you too. But I find it interesting that because there is so much shady stuff that goes on in the world today, we can't even believe when 2 people want to be in a relationship together. And it's very interesting to me. And what I was telling a friend the other day that was like, oh, well, this is a scam. And I'm like, really? Like, they're engaged now. The guy just spent $500,000 on her ring. So now is that a scam too? Which is funny because I think that's kind of a cheap ring for that guy. You know what I mean? It's like $500,000. That's it. I was thinking at least $2.5 million for a ring for that chick, but whatever. So celebrities date each other, they marry each other, and they divorce each other. And then they marry the next celebrity. They date the next one and marry the next one and divorce the next one. So this isn't really that odd. It's just, I guess, because it's Taylor Swift, right? But what's interesting, folks, and you know I'm going to love it, you guessed it, there are gambling lines on Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift. Here we go. We're going to get into it. Celebrity specials. Taylor Swift specials. Who will catch the wedding bouquet? Zoe Kravitz is at plus 700 right now, folks. This is hilarious. This is bad, but it's funny. I love it. It's content. When will they get married? Okay, this is where I think bettors could maybe make a buck or two. On or before December 31st is plus 450. So that's a pretty big underdog. After December 31st is minus 850. But if you got deep pockets, like deep pockets, not like myself, but you could put a couple of $1,000 on, a person could, on after December 31st, because I don't think they're getting married in the winter. Like, what's the hurry, right? These people are going to have a beautiful wedding in the spring, probably in May, late May, somewhere where you and I will probably never be able to go because we couldn't afford it, and they will send all of their friends and family there. So if you want to make some bucks on this wedding, it's happening after December 31st, without a doubt. So there you go. Let's see here. There are animal appearance specials. This is kind of funny. These lines are tight. Will Taylor's cats, Meredith, Olivia, and Benjamin, appear at the wedding or reception? That's only minus 125, folks. Get in on that one. Cat named Benjamin. Interesting. I didn't ever know anybody named an animal with my name, but that's okay. Any animal as a ring bearer. That's plus 230. I don't think, surely these people aren't going to have an animal as a ring bearer. And then you've got best man speech length, first dance song. Ooh. That would be tough. Who knows what she would pick for that. And then we have, okay, I'm going to stop after this. All bets must be in by 8/31/25, by the way, by 11 p.m. Will Taylor Swift be pregnant in 2025? Now, that's interesting. So, depending on what kind of a degenerate gambling piece of garbage you are, you can put all your, you can have fun here. I'm not going to divulge whether or not I'm going to do any of that. That's for me to know and for you to never know. But now, that was more than I should have talked about that. That was. I'm sorry. I hope I didn't lose viewers there. But we're going to move on. And I wanted to mention, and I'm going to get Big Frank on the phone, and then we'll close up the show here. But I did want to mention that I was watching, I'm about halfway through the Dallas Cowboys documentary on Netflix. It is called The Dallas Cowboys. It's called A Gambler and His Cowboys. But it's about the 1990s. It's basically an homage to freaking Jerry Jones. And it's right before the season when they're, as far as competitively, as irrelevant as the Dallas Cowboys have maybe ever been. And this guy is just trying to keep him in the spotlight. He's got another yes man coach and Brian Schottenheimer, which that's going to be a disaster. He's in an argument over money with Micah Parsons, who he referred to as Michael Parson a couple months back. The dude's 80, almost 83 or 4, I think. It's an interesting documentary. However, it's nothing new that we didn't know about or haven't seen. It's kind of like The Last Dance with Michael Jordan in 2020, but that was kind of stuff that I didn't know about and hadn't seen before, you know? And I guess maybe some people can catch some new stuff off this documentary they didn't know about. But the Cowboys, I just hate talking about them because, I don't know. It's just interesting. So I will say the documentary, as everything that Netflix does documentary wise, it's very entertaining. It is. But it is basically Jerry Jones at the podium telling you why he's so rich and so smart and everything else. And Jimmy Johnson, and they're falling out. And then basically after Jimmy, Barry Switzer wins a title with Jimmy's team that was left over, and then the rest has been a complete disaster for 30 plus years. And I'm an Oakland Raiders fan, now Las Vegas Raiders, so I understand what it's like to be a fan of a franchise that just can't get it together. Okay, we're actually trying. We got Chip Kelly now. We got Tom Brady in the ownership. So, I understand what it's like. And I was a fan of the Cowboys as a child. I jumped ship to the Raiders some years ago. Somewhere around 15 years ago, I became a Raiders fan because I just felt like I identified with them. I just love the Raiders, okay? The Cowboys have just been a dumpster fire that makes so much money. And are so popular, it just totally sends me back. I don't understand it. Okay, so the Cowboys documentary, give it a shot, give it a look. It's really interesting. The other thing, before I call Big Frank, I'm almost there. On the New York Post this morning, this is the last little visual I gave Sammy earlier. The New York Post this morning. The headline reads, "The Colts owner Jim Irsay secretly relapsed before death as shocking accusations of a cover-up emerge." Okay, so for those of you that don't know, Jim Irsay was the owner of the Indianapolis Colts since 1997, I believe. And he's a very eccentric guy. The things in he's really into music. He was really into like psychedelic rock and different things like that. He's had a very public struggle with drugs, with addiction for his entire adult life that he's been very public about and his struggles. And you got to respect somebody. You got to respect somebody that is open and honest about their struggles, and especially who's like a public figure like that. And I don't know if you guys remember, I think it was just last year, was it Matthew Perry of the Friends fame ended up dead in a pool from a ketamine overdose, which was given to him by this shady-ass doctor. Well, it appears that, Jim Irsay died in May at 65, and he spent the last 2 years of his life in the throes of a relapse. The report is alleging the NFL executive was prescribed ketamine from a private doctor, and that created the cardiac arrest, which took his life. And it appears that the report states that no toxicology testing was administered, nor an autopsy. So, here we go again, and this is kind of I'm not going to go into a diatribe about Big Pharma and the evil bastards that truly are the drug industry, but I know maybe not all of them, because a lot of us do need certain drugs in our life, but, he had an issue with pills for years, and now it's this ketamine, and like these doctors, like this doctor was staying at the Beverly Hills Hotel where Jim Irsay died, and he was just pumping him full of this stuff. And this doctor prescribed over 200 opioid pills before Jim Irsay overdosed on 2 separate occasions in December 2023. So, it's just interesting to me what's legal, what's not legal, and what we have our medical professionals push on people that, quite frankly, are struggling with addiction, and they're another one bites the dust. And think what you want about Jim Irsay, but he brought in Peyton Manning, or I think so. Don't quote me on that, but it was like 97 or something. He was eccentric. A lot of the owners probably didn't really like him very much because he wasn't your typical billionaire. But I think it's nice to have somebody that's a little different and somebody that is a little more real of a person in a situation like that, in a role like that can be open about his struggles with addiction and kind of just, quite frankly, pretty shameless about it. And I think that's great for normal people to see. And anyways, so rest in peace, Jim Irsay. I thought he was entertaining and funny. He dressed up as Willy Wonka one time to a draft. The guy was a real personality, and he loved music. He collected rock and roll paraphernalia, if you will, memorabilia, guitars of all kinds, and just really, really into that kind of thing. And I'm into that kind of thing, so I just kind of appreciate that coming from what are usually pretty boring billionaires. Anyways, so now we're going to move on. I got some questions for Big Frank. I'm going to get him on the phone right now and see. I got to get my...
Hello.
Hey, Big Frank, how we doing today?
What's going on, Ben? How are you?
Oh, man, I'm good. I'm so excited for football right now. I can taste it.
Man, isn't that the truth? It starts... Actually, there's a few games on tonight, I guess, college ball.
Yes.
So it starts getting rolling this Saturday. We got some pretty good games, obviously, the Ohio State, Texas, the main liner, and then, pro game starts. So it's a good time of year.
Yeah, this is like the one weekend that college gets the full highlight. You know what I mean?
Correct.
And
yes.
and I'm pretty excited. I mean, obviously, like you said, Texas at Ohio State is the big one. But I was gonna get your take on kind of what your prediction is. I picked Ohio State to win. But I don't know if that's the right pick because, Arch Manning could go off. What do you think might take place here?
Yeah, beginning of the year, it's hard to say, but I'm leaning more towards Texas. I think Texas only for the simple reason I think their quarterback, Ohio State's got a new quarterback now. I don't even know who he is. We don't really hear much Ohio State around here. Being in the Chicago area, this is big Notre Dame country.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, so they focused on Notre Dame and some in the Big Ten. The University of Illinois last year did good, and they're ranked as high as 12th this year. So there's some renewed optimism for them. So you really don't see much of the Big Ten other than, they're always on television and stuff like that. But I think right off the bat, I'm leaning towards and hoping Texas wins. I like Texas. I like Manning. I think he's going to have a breakout year. And I think just right off the bat, without knowing, it may have been a little bit different, midway through the year if they played, depending upon what their records are and how they've been going. But I'm kind of leaning towards Texas.
Nice. I like that pick. I do, and that's what I hope happens as well. I just don't.
Yeah.
I think that Sarkisian, the Texas coach, I think his seat is warm. I don't think it's hot, but I think they got to win a national championship this year or next, or that guy's fired.
Oh yeah, especially in Texas.
Yeah.
I mean, and you give them they're always saying, well, it's hard. You need to get the quarterback. Well, this kid Manning is the number one prospect, and he chose Texas. So it's like if you can't, produce, like you say, a national championship or develop or at least make it to the game, and it's kind of easy to get into the playoff now because it's not just the top two teams or four. So once you get in, you got to make a good run, at it. So, I think it's a hot seat because if you don't produce out there, the boosters will throw their money in, I guess, and get you a new guy out there.
That's right. So my next one, speaking of Notre Dame, it says that's a Sunday game. Is that correct? It says it's 8:31:25. I think it's Sunday.
Yeah, it might be for the simple reason that, again, they're taking advantage of no NFL games this
Right.
weekend, which I'm surprised they don't try to pit more big games like, Ohio State, Texas. But, nowadays, one or two losses is going to kill you. So they want to, get as many of the good cupcake wins as they can in, you know what I mean? And save, the bigger games for the end. But like you said, without having the NFL, even though, NFL's on Sunday, college is mostly on Saturday, but you could use both that Saturday and Sunday to attract, some good games
Yeah.
because you don't have to worry about the NFL. So,
Right.
yeah, that is a Sunday game. So,
Cool. So we've got Notre Dame versus Miami. It looks like that could be a fun one.
yeah, that could. Notre Dame is, again, with their new quarterback. I think they're starting, if I'm not mistaken, a true freshman, or I know they had a transfer from somewhere come in and and go with it. So Miami is usually always tough if they get off to a tough start. So that could be a good game too. So
Heck yeah. And then okay, so I was kind of talking about this before I got you on. LSU at Clemson I think is huge because Brian Kelly at LSU has kind of been a dud, and Dabo Sweeney at Clemson kind of hasn't embraced the transfer portal, but from what I understand is he's got a pretty good team this year at Clemson.
yeah, that Brian Kelly thing. That's a tough one. He went to Notre Dame, and again, you're down at LSU. You got to produce,
Yeah.
and he hasn't really produced. They start off hot, and then they kind of fall apart there at the end. And it's man, college football is so different now with this transfer portal
Oh
and
yeah.
NIL money. You could go from bad to good to great in 1 year, depending upon how many guys you can woo. It's almost like free agency in the NFL
Yeah.
per se. It's like who's going to pay the highest money to get it down there, and how fast can I win a national championship, because players are going to be changing teams like crazy. So
Absolutely.
it's hard to predict down there. So um, it's strange, and he's kind of Brian Kelly's he kind of looks like he's sometimes he gets out of control on the sidelines, and he's kind of out of it and everything like that. And he's not from what I hear, he's not well liked down there,
Yeah.
because he had a good thing at Notre Dame going,
He really did.
and he kind of just messed it up and stuff like that. So
Yeah, and I
um,
don't know if you remember whenever he kind of was introduced to LSU at the basketball game, he kind of put on a fake Southern accent,
yeah,
and it's
trying to
like,
get that Southern drawl.
yeah, and it's like, come on, man, just be you.
Yeah, really,
But
really. As a matter of fact, this past weekend we had some friends of ours, and they have a lake house in a lake. It's about 2 hours from here. It's in Michigan, and it's right on the border between Indiana and Michigan, with South Bend only being about 25, 30 minutes from where their lake place is,
uh-huh.
and it's huge, Notre Dame, and I remember last year when we were out there, we usually try to get out there for a weekend. They were pointing out that this one corner house on the corner of the lake, which was huge, probably worth over $2 million, and had gold and blue colors. And my friend pointed out, he goes, that's Brian Kelly's lake
Oh,
house, because he, again, Notre Dame wasn't that far away, and I mean, this place had a pool. It had every toy imaginable on the lake and everything like that.
right.
And since he took the LSU job, he goes, it's not, you don't really see many people there. There might be some relatives or friends, because he still hasn't sold it. And the rumor had he was kind of like a tool bag,
Yeah.
kind of just like really, kind of a jerk and things like that to people that were, on the lake and stuff like that. So it's just the kind of stuff that you hear. And then he's always going crazy on the sidelines when things don't go his way. So as a fan, you're kind of like that if I'm not rooting for LSU, but you got to kind of wonder, say, is that really positive and things like that?
Yeah, I think
So
my favorite out of the two brothers has got to be Chip Kelly.
yeah. Yeah. He's is he he's out west now, isn't he, or something
So
like that?
Chip Kelly is now the offensive coordinator of my Las Vegas Raiders.
That's right. That's right. Okay, yeah, he came back with Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
Got him in there. So, yeah.
And then
interesting.
Aiden O'Connell, our backup quarterback, broke his wrist.
Yeah, and you signed the old Steeler #1 pick, Kenny Pickett.
Who's
kind of made the rounds. So if it has to come to him, you're in trouble.
Yeah, that's gonna be a bad day.
With backup quarterbacks around here, it's like most of the guys get hurt nowadays. It's very seldom that a backup, you don't have to rely on them at some point during the season. It's extremely rare if you can make it through the year, it seems like, without your #1 guy getting hurt. So they're always looking for someone that has at least played. And I thought that was interesting that he went there. So
yeah,
what do you think of your Raiders? I meant to ask you, last week, we always talk about, the Bears and everything. How are you feeling about the Raiders this year?
So I'm more optimistic than I've been in a long time to just to be trending in a positive direction. Right.
Mm-hmm.
So like, I think versus just kind of this no man's land that we've been in for so long, getting Tom Brady in the ownership group, Mark Davis is like, okay, Tom, help me right this ship, and the Pete Carroll thing, I love it on the short term because, I don't think you'd want a guy like that for very long, but the Geno Smith thing, I think is, I think that's terrible, honestly. But
I couldn't understand why they didn't go after. And again, I'm sure it's like it's a money thing. Why they didn't go after like a Kirk Cousins, or
sure.
someone like that? Because if you're going to be looking for, say what you want about him. I mean, he doesn't get you big games or something, but he always gets you in the playoffs. From when he was Minnesota, and he's a really a good quarterback. I mean, what's your best option? Geno Smith, because he had success with Pete Carroll in Seattle, I guess, and they're trying to, obviously it's just a stepping point until they can possibly draft one. You know what I mean? So it's like, but really, I mean, you couldn't find anybody better, than that. So.
And then on the draft, I'm just watching them pass up all these quarterbacks, and it's just I guess they probably have something in mind, but
but this year's quarterback, again, just from what I see and read, I don't know if anybody I'm drafted is really looking to start this year.
Yeah, that's true.
They're mostly backups and everything because there wasn't really, they had said this year's quarterback draft was wasn't as good as the year before, with Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams and those. This year, I think the highest one that went was like in a third round or second round, and I don't think any of them are starting. So, depending upon how the year plays out, a lot of teams I think are going to be looking, for a quarterback. And then if Manning decides he wants to come out, and there's always a few more that show up, teams will overpay for that, if they think that they can get the next franchise quarterback.
Yeah, and the problem with my Raiders is, we've got the poorest billionaire out of all the billionaires, maybe except for Cincinnati. I mean, Mark Davis doesn't have the kind of cash that did a Jerry Jones or these other guys do. But
but by moving to Vegas, that's kind of
it helps.
The right deal to do. I mean, when you're looking at it from a business standpoint, I'm sure the Raiders are worth a hell of a lot more money than they were when they were in, Oakland. And every year they're just going to keep on, making more, because that's a destination where people want to go. And, you're going to get a lot of visitor teams to go in there, I mean, they're doing a thing down here because we played the Raiders the fourth game of the year.
Right.
And they got a package it's called True Fan. And I guess they do it for all the teams, but they got a deal where you leave out of here on like a Friday, and it's the ESPN local out here is AM 1000, and they're going to do tailgates. You get a ticket to the game, you get a ticket to their tailgate, and airfare, round trip airfare, and it's a 3-day deal. So it's like $2,400. And I mean, the thing sold out like in a couple days.
Oh, wow.
You know, it's on the secondary market, and I'm sure you can buy them on the secondary market. But I mean, I would imagine a lot of teams do that, especially with them wanting to go to Vegas.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
and see that. So, but yeah, it's like, okay, let's make the team more appeal, you know,
Yeah.
to the fans who want to root for them, you know.
Exactly, man. It's interesting.
Yeah.
Oh, the other thing I was going to ask you about, did you watch the Jerry Jones love affair piece that Netflix
I
put
have
out?
started it. I guess it's I don't know if it's finished or not, but I started watching it the other day, and it was kind of interesting about how he bet. He only had 800 grand left, and he bet on a well.
Yeah.
And the well popped open, and that's how he bought the Cowboys. But there again, you know, he doesn't really have any knowledge of it, and to make himself a general manager. It's one thing to be an owner and have a ton of money, but at least throw some money at a general manager who knows, you know, the football end of it. And this handling of this Micah Parsons thing is just a total joke. I mean, I read stuff about it, and again, I'm not, you know, near in the Dallas area, but just the stories that you get out of here, it's just the way it's been handled is just a farce, and it's still up in the air whether he's going to play with them or not, you know, or sit out. Or I know he's demanded to be traded, and you know, Jerry says he's not going to trade him. So I don't know, how's it playing out in Texas area over there. I mean,
well, the big talk over the last week was how Micah Parsons was laid out on the table just during the preseason game. And like that he's like hanging around the team, but he's not doing anything. And then like Schottenheimer, the coach, like doesn't have any kind of pull with the players yet. Like it's just on every level, it's not looking good, you know. And which, quite frankly, like I said, you know, I was speaking about it earlier. I was a fan of the Cowboys when I was a kid in the '90s, and then I jumped ship. I jumped ship about 15 or so years ago. I fell in love with the Raiders, even though, you know, mostly from the history, but and I just kind of identify with the fan base a little bit. And
as that documentary's pointing out, it was America's team.
Yeah.
For the longest time. I mean, you could have lived anywhere, but everybody wanted to wear the Dallas Cowboys logo. I mean, you get a bunch of Cowboys fans in Chicago here that are Cowboy fans for years, and so it goes to the America's team. And you know, years ago they were good, and then it shows you how he got upset with. I left it at the part where he fired Tom Landry, and then he had Jimmy Johnson come in, and then they did good, even with Barry, the other guy there. His name has escaped me right
Barry
now.
Switzer.
Coach.
Yeah, Switzer came in and just used Jimmy's roster that was left over. You know,
absolutely. And I'm getting to the point where why he got rid of Jimmy or something. It seems like whenever somebody gets more popular than Jerry, or getting more credit than Jerry, just from an outsider looking in, it seems that's when he gets rid of them. Same thing with McCarthy. I think Mike McCarthy is a hell of a coach. And I thought he did well down there, but I think he was getting to be too much of the issue. It's like, oh, they're winning because of McCarthy and not because of me. And then his ego gets in the way, and then they get rid of him, you know?
Yeah, it's pretty you nailed it right there. That's exactly point to point, exactly what's going on there. And he's got him a yes man in Brian Schottenheimer, and I'm sure Schottenheimer's a good coach, but like I mean, it's just he's not gonna be able. He's gonna have a short leash. And then the players don't respect you, and when the players don't respect you, and there's all that money being made, I mean,
he wants to get that new up and coming young kid that's never been tested before, but might have had a good, you know, year or two as calling plays or a coordinator. So they're going to bring him in because he's just excited to get the job, and then this way Jerry can just throw his, you know, weight around as far as, you know. I don't even know. Again, from the outsider looking in, I don't even know if the head coach really has any say on what kind of players they bring in.
No.
In drafting and everything like that. Just from what you read, it's just really kind of crazy. It's amazing that they're doing, you know, really good the way it is now, because they really do have some talented players.
Yeah.
You know, on the roster.
That's what's amazing. And this, you know, and everybody in the media is assuming that Micah Parsons' deal will be done the day before the season starts. because because Jerry just wants this parody. He wants all eyes on the Cowboys, and it's working. And then watch, day before the season starts, he signs the biggest non-quarterback contract of the history of the NFL. You know.
And, one of those things, and that's what usually happens, is then he's not in football shape, because everybody will tell you can stay in great shape when you get hit. And he's going to miss maybe the first game or two or try to play. Then he's going to get hurt.
Yep.
You know what I mean? It's just the way it is, because the game nowadays, these guys are like, they almost look like superhumans. You see the way some of these guys are built out there.
Yes.
And the way they're hitting, somebody's going to get hurt. And then it's going to be him. And then you're going to pay him all this money. And then he's not going to be able to play. Because you really wonder if he really wants to play for an organization like that.
Yeah, and he very well really actually may want to get out of there.
Yeah. It all depends on somebody who wants to play. I heard it's going to cost you at least a couple first-round picks.
Yeah.
And then maybe something else. But somebody might be desperate enough to try that, So we'll see.
That's right.
We'll see.
Well, Big Frank, I guess we'll talk to you next week, and we'll be talking about getting ready for week 1.
Sounds good. I'm ready to pick up. I just talked to my guy the other day. I should get the truck next week. This new tailgate vehicle we got.
Yeah.
We're gonna make some videos for you and send it on in. So,
that sounds great.
And then I'll send you a tape from. We'll probably have lots of film from Monday night, opening night. So.
Oh heck yeah.
We'll go from there. So look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, Big Frank. You have a great day.
All right, Ben. Talk to you later, buddy.
All right, see ya.
Bye.
Oh, just it always never disappoints. Big Frank never disappoints. And man, it's great to hear his take as somebody from Chicago on the whole Dallas debacle that has been for 3 decades now, and just continues to never disappoint. Okay, so a little bit of a rundown on everything we went across the board. College football is here, starts tonight. We did have last week, but whatever. This is the big weekend. The Tech Bros have descended upon Abilene in their starship, and they are throwing around money like it grows on trees and blows in the wind. The U.S. Open, interesting, not that interesting. WNBA, watch it. It's fun. It's cool. Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift. All you haters, look who's engaged. Look who's got a $500,000 rock. Let's do like we like to do towards the end of the program, is we take a look at the the Wall Street Journal. Okay. Commercial air travel. Yikes. Oh, so many world things I just don't even want to think about. Russia. Tariffs seem to be working pretty well to some degree. Yeah. Guess there's not a whole lot that I'm interested in as far as the journal goes today. Yikes. Except for a bunch of stuff that's not really happy stuff. Now, what is interesting, I will say, is Dillard's buys a mall, bucking the anti-mall trend. Listen to that. Fashion apparel retailer partner to pay $34 million for site in Longview, Texas. That is actually a shocker. Because, I love malls. I'm a big mall guy. Dillard's is buying real estate. Looks like they purchased the Longview Mall about 2 hours east of Dallas. $34 million for this 47-year-old mall in the city of Longview. Well, I hope that's a win. I'll go to your mall. Well, that about covers everything, folks. I'd like to thank my technical producer extraordinaire, Sammy, a.k.a. Sam Wolf, and this beautiful place we have to operate in at the Neon Parrot Live Studios. Also in the Majestic Coffee Shop in downtown historic Abilene, Texas. Come by, get yourself a coffee. Get yourself a Topo Chico, my personal favorite. Thanks to Jan and Hair and Makeup. You did a good job today. So I've been told over the waves. Let's get excited about sports. Let's get excited about tech bros throwing money around Abilene. Go check out downtown. Apparently that's where they're all at. So anyways, Nebraska, Cincinnati, Notre Dame, Miami. Week 1, college football is here. I pick Ohio State. Big Frank picks Texas. We'll see how it shakes out. Y'all have a lovely day, and we will see you next week with more and more to talk about. I'm sure we'll see where Ben was right and where Ben was wrong. And check out your Travis Kelce, Taylor Swift betting lines. When will it be after December 31st? Put your money on that. Have a great day, and thanks for joining us on The Breakdown.